is an author, former Conservative member of the European Parliament and father to the UK's Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Boris Johnson. He's in Australia discussing his latest book, Compromat, which imagines the possibility of nefarious Russian involvement in the 2016 Brexit vote. Here he is, at age 76, doing a handstand.
Oh my goodness! What again?
No, that's enough.
I've got it. There he is.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, his money's falling out.
Well, please welcome Stanley Johnson, everybody. Hello,
Stanley. My money.
Your money fell out of your pockets
on
there.
The floor.
Yes. How rich are you?
Well, I always wanted to say, you've got to put your money where your mouth is.
Yes.
Anyway, that's where it was. How rich am I? I am rich in many, many different ways.
Right.
I'm rich because of all the wonderful things I've had to do and the life I've led.
And mainly your money. Yep.
That's a very good point.
What's your secret to be able to do a handstand at age 76?
Well, it's easy peasy. I last did one in 1954. That's not true. I did one when I was 77.
Yeah?
76. I'm 77 now.
Right.
The secret, well, I won't demonstrate it, but it's easy peasy. You put your head down, you flip your legs up.
OK. We saw it. Thank you.
You did. Yeah.
So thank you for being here. 2 years on from the Brexit vote. We're coming up on that in June. You campaigned heavily for Remain. Your son Boris was a big face of the Leave campaign. You did not win. Sorry if you weren't aware of that, but that's a bad news.
I know. I took on an opponent who, was a tough opponent.
Yeah. Yeah. And now it's happening. And now you've written this book. Why do you believe there could have been Russian involvement in the Brexit vote?
Well, let's look at it in the round. We are absolutely sure there was Russian involvement in the Trump election. That, seems to be, one way or another coming out more and more and more. And this book covers not only Brexit, it covers Trump. But thinking about Brexit, I said to myself, why on earth wouldn't there have been Russian involvement? Now, I don't know if you followed the English newspapers last weekend. It appears that there was a huge amount of Russian involvement in the last general election we had, which was in June last year, 2017.
Right, so there's lots of accounts tweeting things in favour of
Corbyn mania. You remember right at the last minute, Corbyn became the flavour of the month. Jeremy Corbyn is our, Labour Party politician. Is he like Mr. Shotton? Would that be the...
I think fans of Jeremy Corbyn would not appreciate that comparison.
Okay.
But sure.
Anyway.
Bill Shorten is maybe more in the Tony Blair model and then the Jeremy Corbyn.
All right, well, I don't want to denigrate anybody here. Anyway, but so there was a sudden, swirl of activity and, favouring Corbyn. And this is all being traced back, to Russian bots, Russian, Facebook stuff, and so on and so forth. And I said to myself, well, don't tell me this guy, Putin, who's an extremely clever man, didn't also, have something to do. And what this book is about is how it worked. This is, as it were, my take on how we really got Trump and Brexit.
Right. But how hard is it to determine exactly how much impact things like that have?
Well, if you're a very good intelligence operator, you try not to leave a trace, and that's the nature of things. If you think we had this fellow called Stephen Hawking, for years and years, just says there has to be dark matter out there. For 20 years, people said there isn't any dark matter. Eventually, there was dark matter. We will find these traces. And now, in my book, it's perfectly obvious.
OK. Are you comparing yourself to Stephen Hawking? Is this a brief history of time right here?
No, but it's a brief history of actually something quite serious, what is actually a pretty major event in Britain. I mean, Brexit it's going to be like a vasectomy, and it's not going to be a reversible vasectomy.
Right. But so you wanted to be investigated. If there came out as conclusive evidence that there was Russian interference in Brexit, what would you like to see happen? Would you like a second referendum or what?
Well, I think that if there really was conclusive evidence that there was Russian interference, it would have to go before the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court would have to say, was that a fair vote? Bear in mind, it was a very, very narrow vote. It was like 52 versus 48, which is as narrow as you can get, apart from being 51-49. So it might have been 51-49. Now I can't think. Anyway, yes, I think you'd have to go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court might say. So it is, and by the way, at the moment, things are on a knife edge in Britain. We just lost a minister yesterday. I mean, our Home Secretary has gone, and a new gentleman has come in. So, yeah, but my point about this book is I hope you have fun. You have fun reading. I had huge fun writing. I wrote it in 6 weeks. I was so shocked, really, when Trump got in. Remember, Trump came after Brexit. And I said to myself, OK, we've had Brexit, now we've got Trump. Come on, what was it all about? And there are a couple of things in that book which I think are absolutely conclusive. I won't get into them now.
Sure. If there was a second vote, would you vote again to Remain? Would you vote against your son?
Yeah. Now, I would say if there's a second vote, I would vote to Remain. if the vote was still to come out, I would accept it in the same way as I accept the current vote. I accept it. I believe the government is doing what it had to do. It said we're going to follow the will of the people. Now we're in a very interesting situation now, where we've got almost a situation of Parliament versus the people. Because you've got the people who took a view, and Parliament is just not jolly well not going to.
Well, your son is in that Parliament. He's a very colourful character, is Boris.
Okay, my son is leading, the tough-line Brexiteers, but I don't think they can necessarily get it through the Parliament. This remains to be seen. Now, you've had that kind of situation in Australia, where you've had a referendum and then you've had to try and get the Parliament to come through with the measures the referendum has called for. Sure. But we are in a real constitutional pickle now in the UK.
I'm interested in your thoughts on Boris's political future. Here's what you said when you were asked whether you think he would make a good leader.
Oh, God.
You think he'd make a good Prime Minister?
Who knows? Who knows? I personally
You're his dad.
Who knows? Who knows? Being a Prime Minister is just one job among many jobs people can do. You go up the political tree, other people go up the business tree, other people become musicians, painters. I regard being Prime Minister as just one job among many options.
Now, that's not a ringing endorsement of Boris. Do you think he's going for the top job?
He is there because he wants to be there. The chips will fall, in the gravy or whatever. I suspect that in the long run, Boris will still be around 5 years from now. Now, he has already what is called one of the great offices of state. Not quite as great as it was, the Foreign Office, because we more or less hollowed out the European role, but still it's important. And we look to the future and we see he sees these broad Sunday uplands, deals between UK and Australia. Fantastic.
Would you
I
vote for him?
think he'll be there. Of course I'd vote for him. Of course I'd vote for Boris. It goes without saying. And, I'm proud. I've actually got a lot of children. Boris is only one.
Hey, you don't like that one? I got some more here. People away!
I've got another minister out there in the House of Parliament, who's he was the Minister of Science and Education. He's now the Minister of Transport.
You've done very well.
It's fine. I coast along in the slipstream of the kids, but I have fun writing. I do have fun writing.
I believe you. And this is the book. Compromat is what it's called. You can check it out if you like, or catch Stanley at the Sydney Writers' Festival this weekend. Please take in Stanley Johnson, everybody. Thanks for your time. Thank you very much, mate.